Good afternoon, everyone. Today is April 5th, the first Wednesday of the month, and we're continuing with our tips and tricks and things that you should know about and extra information other than what you hear all through the week. We try to be different and supplement everything. And today, Don is going to present us with information on reasons why you should have your own credit, as well as a business credit rating. So take it away, Don.
Thank you, Tom. Let me see if I can get connected here today. And we'll share the screen. And guess what? Success. Can everybody see that okay?
Yeah, first time.
Awesome. Really? I practiced a little bit. Okay, let me get to the front here. So I will always start this with a disclaimer that I am not a credit expert on things concerning personal finances, credit, or take any responsibility or have any responsibility for how others use this information after listening to it and or implementing it. This is presented for educational and informational purposes only. Okay. Rule number one, do not get distracted by TNSO, the next shiny object. Okay. I'm pretty sure we've all had students that are that way. You sign them up for a PBS, and the next thing you know, you have them messaging you and go, "Oh, I saw this and decided that I'd spend $49.95 because I'm sure that it will get me ahead with this program." Well, the answer to that's always been, why didn't you ask me first before you committed to that? The next shiny object is always going to distract people. It's the same way with credit. If you get a new credit card and you've got a $2,500 balance, guess what? It's probably not going to stay $2,500 balance very shortly because you're going to go out and buy something. And before you know it, it's going to be maxed out, especially if you have a wife or a significant other that likes to buy stuff on credit. Be prepared for that. Manage your credit wisely. Okay. A rule change lately with the credit card companies is there's only a couple of them that are now offering option of having a joint credit card in both names. Okay, the way they're doing that is they're having a main creditor, which would either be you or your wife or your significant other. And if you go visit the website, they always want and ask if there's anybody else you want to put on your credit card. Okay. And the way that works is if you're the main credit holder, you are responsible for all of the debt on that credit card, whether you want to admit it or not. Okay. And that's the way they're going to pursue it if it goes into debt or credit or whatever is going to happen to it. If it gets maxed out, they're going to rely on you to pay that balance and not the other person that you have on the card. So if you're going to put another responsible person on your credit card, make sure you read the fine print. Okay. I know it's a pain. And you usually, I always have to hit the dots on my server so I can read it because my eyes aren't as good as they used to be. Okay. Take the 10 or 20 minutes to read it, make sure you understand it, and then agree to it and add the person. You can always take them off if something happens and they max out your credit, because what's going to happen to your credit score? It's going to go down. Okay. If you're responsible with your credit and you add another person and you both are responsible in paying the debt that's on the card, your credit score will go up eventually. Okay. What's going to happen is if you add another person to your credit card, what's going to happen is the next month that you check your credit score, it's going to go down 5 to 10 points, guaranteed, because they are not sure what the other person is going to do on that credit card. The next month, if you check it and there's responsible payments, that 5 to 10 credit points will come back to you. So if you're one of those people that keep track of your credit every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, and you see that dip in your credit, don't have a heart attack. It'll come back next month, guaranteed. Okay. Each and every situation that you have with credit is different. There's no two people that spend alike. There's no two people that save alike. It's just different with every person that you attend to credit with. Okay. Be sure you do your research. Always find that fine print, and keep in mind that if you're newly married, here's a sobering statistic: almost half of all those first marriages will end in divorce or separation. Okay. And it's not money at the top of the list that causes the people to break up in a marriage. It's infidelity and lack of commitment, believe it or not. Money issues are down on number 8 or 9 on the list. Okay. So if you can't commit to a person, don't get married. That's pretty simple. But those love pheromones went out most of the time, and no matter what people are going to tell you, you're going to make that commitment anyway. Okay. So if you decide to take the plunge the second time, almost 60% of those marriages will end in divorce. Okay. May take you a couple years to recover from that, may not. There may be a significant other in the mix. So you get a divorce and you take the plunge a third time. 73% of all of those marriages are going to end in divorce as well. So we don't learn as we go, apparently, in the United States. And that takes a financial and money commitment. And the reason why we don't commit is we don't have a reason to commit. And once we see that next shiny object, we're gone. Okay. It's not just women, it's 50% between men and women. If you're going to make the commitment, make sure you can stick with it. I have 2 sons, one's 34 and the other one's 32. The older one's been married for 14 years now, and the younger one's been married for 11. So they choose the right partners to start with, and they don't have a problem with money that I know of. I never hear about it anyway. And they have separate accounts with all of their dealings. So if one of them has a problem with their health, or they have a problem with the kids, it gets taken care of, and the bills get taken care of as well. Okay. If you have a credit card in your own name, you can retain that financial independence and spend or save how you want. Okay. If you both have a credit card and one of you goes out and uses their credit up and says, "Hey, can I borrow your credit card?" Answer to that is no, you have your own. Okay. Pretty simple. I know you probably wouldn't say that, but in regards to credit, you probably should. If you have your each credit rating, that in turn may lead to more harmony in a marriage, and each one of you won't feel as if you have to justify what you spend your money on or which bills you pay. And the outcome to that is we as people in the United States are increasingly marrying at an older age. Okay. And we're more likely to bring substantial assets into a marriage, like land, a house, many other things, a car, an RV, whatever. And the flip side of that is we might even be in debt before we get into that union. Okay. If we have debt, we probably shouldn't share it with the person that we're going to be married to because that's not fair to them. If you each have your own credit, you can each take care of it by your own self. If one person becomes injured, sick, ill, the other partner should be able to pull out money they need for medical expenses or other bills. Okay. If each spouse takes care of their own credit and care about their finances, it works out better. Okay. It doesn't mean that if one person gets sick and the other person has to take over, they just step in and take over the accounts, because that's not going to happen. Because what will happen in that instance is the person that's sick will get into debt because of the responsible person that's handling the finances now. If you keep separate accounts, no matter whether you're male or female, it also helps if the marriage goes south and one irresponsible person, we've all heard the stories, they clean out a savings account, they clean out a checking account, they max out the credit cards, and they file for divorce, and they have nothing, and the other person has debt. Okay. If there, the laws change according to what state you are in. Okay. And in Canada, believe it or not, Joel, from the research I did, if you get a divorce in Canada, the lawyers are more apt to go with a 50-50 split or something close to that, because that's the way the British law is intended to do it. So if you have one person in the marriage that goes out and maxes out everything, the judge is going to appoint something that the other person has to put in that gap. Okay. I'm not saying everybody should go be a Canadian citizen, but it looks better on paper than it probably is. But I don't know for sure. Okay. Putting money in separate accounts can also be useful if one spouse has considerable debt. And that again is split 50-50 between male and female. Okay. Some people just can't get in their mind how money works. Okay. They have no idea. They just pay the bills, buy the groceries, and whatever left they do whatever with. Okay. It shouldn't be that way. Okay. If you join a marriage and you have a joint account and the other person has debt, it can now be garnished. But the easy, simple way around that is to put it in the major account that the major creditor has, and therefore avoid the garnishment because the other person has better credit than the one in debt. Okay. Each couple has to make that decision on what works best for their marriage. I'm a 100% disabled American veteran, and my account has always been separate from my spouse. And that's the way it's going to work forever, because that's the way I keep track of bills and the way we do stuff. If they need money or need me to pay a bill, they say, you know, I'm a little short this month. Could you pay this month? Yes, I can do that. Okay. I don't have a problem with that. The first wife I was married to way back when had a shoe fetish, believe it or not. Okay. And even back then in the 80s, I was an entrepreneur and I got distracted by the next shiny object. And that was the clean air machines that were popping up everywhere because everybody was tired of breathing polluted air. And I went out, pre-sold 16 of these units and maxed out the credit card within about $5. And she came home and said, "What are you doing with the credit card?" And I said, "Well, I went out and pre-sold 16 of these units and they're going to be sitting in the garage tomorrow. So you can't park the car there, but after that you can, because they'll be out and they're sold already. The only thing I have to do is go collect the money." And her reaction was, "Well, I couldn't buy a pair of shoes today so we're going to get a divorce. And I'm like, what? True story. So you never know what the other person is going to do, even if you've been with them for 4 or 5 years. Okay. So the first thing that you should do before you even tie that knot is sit down and discuss your financial priorities together and understand where everybody's headed and what your commonalities and differences are. And that will avoid a lot of the divorces in the United States, believe it or not. Okay. I didn't get married till I was 30, and that was a hard lesson the first time around. Okay. It's not easy sitting down with someone um, that works as much as you do or is committed to a job and asking, what they're going to do and who's going to make the house payments and who's going to take care of the kids and who's going to provide the money for the house care and who's going to pay the gas bill and whatnot. Okay. If you have that conversation before you tie the knot, you're going to be a lot further ahead because you'll know what's coming, apparently. Sometimes not. You get blindsided sometimes. Even if you know the person for 4 or 5 years, they might throw you a curve. Okay. So if you have a joint credit card and you and your partner both help each other maintain the credit score together, so you have to have that conversation every month when the bills come due, or you should anyway. Make sure that the account holder agrees on a spending amount on your credit utilization ratio. Okay. A credit utilization ratio is what FICO and TransUnion and whoever else is out there doing credit report sees when they look at your credit ratio. They like you to have about somewhere around a 30% utilization of your money that you have available in your credit score. If you keep your credit score there, it will usually be up above 700, 720, somewhere around there. Okay. It can fluctuate. If you pay your credit monthly or your credit utilization every month goes down, the credit company will probably reward you with a higher credit limit on that credit card. Okay. It may take 2 years to do that, but eventually they'll do it. Okay. If you get a credit report and it shows an authorized user on the account with a high balance relative to your credit limit, it could be bad for your scores, even if all your payments on time. Okay. So be aware of how much credit you utilize. Okay. It's not a set rule. When the pandemic sat in 3 years ago, credit card debt went up. And that's not because people didn't have the money. It's because they didn't have the money and turned to credit to utilize it. Okay. And our money that we got from the government put a crimp in that because people either spent that or saved that and didn't go back to work. And that created a credit crunch as well. And that's why our national debt is out of sight. Okay. When you have credit utilization that's good on your credit card, it usually balances your credit limits all across the board. It's good to aim for credit utilization, like I said, under 30%. If one account holder uses up most of their available credit, it will probably lower both of your credit scores. If you have each credit in your own name, you don't usually have to worry about it because it'll go up and down like a yo-yo some months. Other months it'll be high, other months it'll take 5 or 10 points off your credit. Like I said, if you're one of those people that has to check your credit every week, don't be surprised because it'll be up one week and down the next. And you read through the report and go, why was that? And it could be that your one credit card was paid off and the other one got a higher limit or got charged more on it, and therefore your credit score rebounded or went down or whatever it's going to do. Okay. Don't put a lot of credit in your credit report monthly, because it will go up and down, just maybe for some reason that you're not even aware of. Maybe the credit card rates went up or down, or something changed in the law. About January 1st, everything that was on your credit report that had to do with a medical bill of any type under $500 is not supposed to be reported anymore. So if you have medical reports on your credit report and they're under $500, go and challenge that and get it taken off your report, because that's what they're supposed to do. I checked mine on January 5th and my credit score went up 75 points. And I'm like, what? Because I knew that was one of those factors that it would go down the next 2 weeks or the next month. And sure enough, when I checked it the 1st of February, it went down 65 points. So I gained 10 points in the exchange, but that was the reason. And they'll usually have you have an explanation for you as to what's going on. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you need to find out what happened. And if you make that credit call, you might know really quickly. You may be on the phone for a while waiting. Everybody has chat nowadays, so you can just put it in chat and wait for an answer if you want. Sometimes that helps, sometimes that doesn't. Okay, so if you add a partner as an authorized user, you're adding someone to your existing account. Okay, it's not a joint account, and the principal holder of the credit card will be responsible for paying that. Okay, the person that's an authorized user is just there using some of your credit and trying to build it for you. Okay. And tell them, look, don't go out on a spree just because you got $2,500 and you can use it. Let's see what happens if there's a bill that we need to pay together, or we need to pay down another credit card. Let's use this credit wisely. They don't take your information correctly and max out their part of your credit, take them back off. That's your right. You're the principal card holder. If their credit history impinges on your credit score, have a conversation with them, determine where you guys want to go, and find out if they actually should be on your credit card. Most of the cards that report payment history are to authorized users' credit reports. So an unauthorized user, you give your son or daughter your card and say, here's my PIN number, go out and buy this or whatever, and they buy that and a few things more, then you're going to get dinged for it because you're the primary. Okay. If you are going through a divorce, if you have your separate credit, there's a couple things that will impact your credit scores. Okay. If you have your finances together, then you're going to have to separate them. And at that point in time, it's probably not going to be fun. And the elephant in the room will be, yeah, well, you can take yours and, whatever, right? So the person that's usually responsible for paying the bills has to know that your income line will change. If the other person is responsible and holding down a job or self-employed and you've never had a problem with them, you probably don't have to worry about the finances and how the income will change, but it will change for you. Okay. If the other person isn't responsible enough, or just because they're getting a divorce, they miss a payment on your joint debt, that will show up in a month. Most credit companies report every month. Some of them, like TransUnion, they do an update every 2 weeks now. I don't know how you can do that with so many people, but they do. Okay. If the other person isn't responsible for their debt and they grab your credit card and max it out, your credit is definitely going to take a hit. And it probably won't bounce back for 2 or 3 months. Okay, so if you decide to get a divorce, or even if you're not and you're in good standing, be aware of how much available credit you have left. Be responsible. Don't max that out. Keep it at 30% or lower if you can. In these pandemic times, it's probably not going to be around 30%. It's probably going to be 40% or above. There's also an item that you can do. It's called freezing your credit report. Okay. If you go to Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion, somewhere on that menu there, they have the option of freezing your credit report. Okay. And what happens if you freeze your credit report is if you go to buy something major like a TV or a car, and the salesman goes, well, I'm going to check your credit. You have to log in and grant them and unfreeze your credit so they can check your credit. If it's frozen, nobody can get any information back from there. And creditors don't like that because that leads to denial real quick. Okay. So monitor your credit report, resolve your debts and pay them off. Keep your credit utilization ratio low, both of you, if you're a joint partnership. Start to build that credit history on your own. If you have your own cards, it's not hard to do, or it could be if you don't know how to budget. You'll want to consider more indirect ways that a divorce may affect your credit, such as closing a joint account, taking on more debt that you shared, and adjusting to a new and possible lower income in time, which leads to lower credit score, which you can get at and progressively build if you're doing it right. Okay. So the next item today is, do you need a business credit card? Well, could be. I have a highlight there that you can check out, and it will walk you through, if you're a business, what you need to apply to get a business credit card. If you're wondering what the easiest one to do is PayPal. Synchrony Bank has an offer, usually on your PayPal site, that you can apply for a line of credit. And they usually get you an answer within an hour or at least a business day. And it works very well if you have a registered business. Okay. The pros and cons of business credit card are, the pros are it has lenient qualifications. It can be easier to qualify you as a business credit card rather than a business line of credit or a bank loan. Okay. Here is where the credit union comes in handy also. If you are a member at a bank and they deny you a loan, you can go to a credit union and see if they will grant you a loan, because they usually have more liberal terms. Business credit cards usually have a higher credit limit than a consumer credit card. Okay. Be responsible if you get that credit granted to you, and don't go out and max it out at the first outing. Okay. Buy small stuff, pay it off monthly. It will pay off in the long run. If you have a business credit card and you decide to hire somebody, or you want to pay your accountant, that alleviates your cash flow concern. If you have tax season coming up, the business expenses can be separated from your personal expenses by using that business credit card. And if you make, the cons are, if you make personally liable unpaid debt on the cards, the business credit card can also affect your personal credit. It's like walking the tightrope. Okay. And there again, 1 month it'll be up, the next it'll be down. Don't put a lot of credit on that, and keep track of it. And either one or both of your scores will go up. Business credit cards are not required to offer the same consumer protection as personal credit cards. Okay. If you want to check out the Credit Card Act of 2009, there's a highlight you can click on, and I'll share this with you when I'm done in the chat, and you can bookmark it and go check that out if you'd like. And business credit cards usually have higher interest rates. And why is that? Well, they have higher credit limits, so therefore they're going to have relatively high average interest rates. Okay, some of them start at 24%, some of them are 28, and there again, read the fine print before you sign on that, because you may be charging more and getting more fees added to those cards than you would if you had an individual cards. If you're not careful with that, it can eat away at the bottom line of your business if you're not careful. Business credit cards are specifically designed to meet the unique needs of small business owners. While that might conjure an image of someone operating a physical storefront, small business owners take many shapes. Freelancers, contract workers, online merchants, and all kinds of gig workers can qualify for business credit cards. Okay, if you're a small business owner and you want to take advantage of that, there are a couple things that you can do. Operate as a sole proprietorship. Freelancers, independent contractors, and gig economy workers with limited startup funds or working capital can take advantage of a business credit card to cover startup inventory, cyclical expenses, and emergencies. Okay, it's very useful that way. If you're looking at expanding your business and you have an occasional purchase that comes up, say you need a 3D printer or something for the office or an office chair, you take somebody to lunch, you need office supplies, you should get probably a card that has a cashback offer. Okay, it's usually low, 1 or 2%, and but that all adds up after a while. Okay, and that on a business credit card will add to your bottom line eventually. If you have a reward card that offers you points for business travel, go for it. That can put you one step closer to a free flight or hotel stay with every eligible purchase. Okay, and you can keep your business expenses away from your personal expenses by using the card. Makes it easy come tax time. One of the most basic reasons to have a card dedicated solely to business is to track and manage your company's expenses. Not only does this help with budgeting, but it makes doing your business taxes a lot easier. If you're going to leap into a business that requires a large overhead with the next purchase, but don't have the funds to quite comfortably cut a check for that, you can use your business credit card for that purchase and pay it off monthly. Okay. You can avoid the credit card interest entirely by using a 0% introductory APR credit card. Okay. There again, read the fine print. Some of those offer 0 APR for a year, some of them are 18 months. If you have credit on another card, you can transfer that credit with usually about a 3% surcharge for using it and go forward. That will impact your credit as well. The common perks that go with a company credit card, if you have employees, you can grant them use on it. You can keep track of your expenses for tools, You can make quarterly summaries, you can give discounts, and you can offer purchase protection and travel benefits. And if you have employees, the Best Business Credit Card lets you add your employees as an authorized user, but be very careful. Here currently, we've had a spate of employees that have done naughty things with employee credit cards, like put gas in their own cars and go to motel rooms and have flings on the employees' credit cards. And apparently the bookkeeper hasn't been paying attention, or the bookkeeper is the person doing it, and they rack up $10,000 or $12,000 on a credit card like it was yesterday. So keep track of everything and sign up for things like alerts so you can tell what's being spent on your credit card if you have employees. If you don't, manage your spending wisely. The things that you need to apply for a small business credit card are things such as your legal structure of your business: sole proprietorship, corporation, partnership, nonprofit, or a LLC, a limited liability company. Your business legal name, your federal tax ID or employee identification number, and your annual revenue. It's pretty simple. Okay. If you're applying for a company credit card, you usually have to have a credit score of 670 or above, personally or otherwise, or be responsible for your business. And in Canada, you have two credit companies, Equifax and TransUnion, because Fair Isaac was indebted to the government and got sued way back 10, 12 years ago, and they don't have FICO scores there. That was interesting reading, by the way. If you're in Canada and want a business credit card, you should contact your provincial or territorial consumer affairs office for information or laws related to credit information. Okay, that's a highlight that will take you exactly to where you need to go if you're in Canada. If you're operating elsewhere in the world, check out whatever you can, wherever you can on the internet. Okay, I wasn't able to highlight the NerdWallet Canadian link, but if you copy and paste that link in your browser, it will take you to the 18 best credit cards to use in Canada. Okay, that may or not be helpful to you, but if you're in Canada like Joel, it might be. Okay, so the due diligence of the whole thing is your business credit card issuer reports to all of your business credit card activity to both the consumer and business credit bureaus. The purchases you put on your business credit card could be factored into your total credit utilization ratio. Okay, so if you're going to carry a high balance on your business credit card, it could hurt your personal business credit score. Use your credit responsibly. Make all of your payments on time, pay off your balance regularly, and keep your balances low. As in everything, if you are at a crossroads on your decisions, seek personal, professional help. They will be worth every dime you save or spend on them. Believe me, I have been there. And most of these people will offer a free appointment to see exactly what your individual situation is. So you're not going to be out of pocket. And like everything else, like seeing a doctor, unless you're in Canada, you can get a second opinion before you proceed. Okay, that's the wisest information I can offer today. Have I got any questions for today?
Sure,
That
that
was
was
excellent.
Yeah, that was
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
A lot of information.
And some good marriage counseling there too.
Well, you shouldn't have to go there to start with, but we all know that that's
Yeah.
probably not a possibility.
No, that was good. Yeah, no, that was good to cover that for sure. Anybody got any questions?
How many people's
Okay.
eyes are glazed
You don't really.
saying,
So
OMG,
I have a question then. Would you
Okay.
where
recommend
am I?
going with a credit card with a bank or a credit card on its own?
A credit card with what?
Sorry. So you can get a credit card attached to your banking account, right? Or not,
Yeah.
I mean, unless you can. So is it better to do that or to just get a credit card on its own?
Yes and no. Okay.
Yeah.
If you are, depends on how you know your bank. Okay.
Right.
I have some stuff with Chase because I've been with Chase ever since they were Washington Mutual way back in 2010. Okay.
Right.
With every bank that I know of, there's good things and bad things. Okay. If you need a credit card and you pay your bills responsibly and you want to get one attached, a debit card attached to that bank account, go for it. Okay. Be responsible. The bigger banks usually don't have a problem and they usually alert you if there's something going on because they know your spending habits. Okay. If you're in that account, I would suggest that you go to a credit union. I don't know if there's credit unions in Canada or not, but
There
I
is,
would
yeah.
think that there is. Okay.
Yeah.
I put the link in the chat and I guess I didn't allow everybody in there. So let me allow everybody that has the link to view it. Okay. All right. Now, okay.
It's saying you
Everybody-
need access.
Okay, try it again. I just granted everybody that has the link access.
Yep.
So
I got it there. I
Okay.
can do it.
good. Your credit
Actually,
union sometimes has better rates and sometimes they can be funky. It all depends. Sit down with the finance officer at the credit union in your bank and have them walk you through it. Okay. Do this though. Make sure you call them and make an appointment. Don't go in there to make a deposit to your checking account and see they're not busy and go over there and start talking to them. They don't like that. Okay. Trust me. If there's a financial officer that's doing her fingernails and you interrupt her, she's not going to be very friendly that day. If you have an appointment, things will change. Okay.
Right.
Don't ask me how I know that. Everybody has their own schedule and their own things that they're responsible for today. So it's like getting an appointment to get into the IBO program with your LLC. Make an appointment. Okay. Always be respectable of other people's times, especially at the bank or the credit card company.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, actually, I'll mention one thing. So I'm actually with the TD Bank, and the advantage there are a couple banks where they actually have affiliates in the U.S. as well as Canada. So
Right.
maybe so if you're traveling, go to your bank and then ask them if they have a affiliate in that country. The reason why I say that is because if they do, you can then get either get permission or get an account with that specific bank, and that way you're not paying the same kind of fees to use your bank account in that country.
Exactly. Okay. And here's the thing, if you're going anywhere and using your passport, make sure you notify the bank or the credit card company where you're going, because if you don't and you put your credit card out there and you're at a bar or something and want to pay for drinks, it's going to come back denied because you're not where you normally are. So make sure they know where you're going. Otherwise, you're going to have problems.
Yeah, also know what balance you have that you can spend at one time.
Exactly.
some have a like a $600 limit or something like that, which people had situations like that last year, getting their watch.
Yeah, right.
So in the end, just like you said, you got to notify your bank first. And if they're on top of everything, they'll remember what you told them. You
Yeah,
won't have
right.
that
Yeah, right.
situation.
Uh-huh.
Ah,
It's always best to notify them with a phone call, but follow up in writing, put it in the chat so people have a record of it so they can recall it when you get that charge there at the bank and they're going, wait a minute, he's in Columbia. He's not in Idaho Falls, Idaho.
mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. I put that link out in the Skype, different Skype chats for you, Don.
Thank you. Now that it works.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that was a boatload of information and it's something to go over and over again. But, as life has it, you want to keep them separate. You want to keep business and personal separate, and you want to monitor what you're doing, what you're paying and buying. Sometimes it does creep up slowly.
Yeah.
And when you
Never
have
when
that
you want
limit,
it to, though.
and actually I have one that I just got a nice notice today, but they said that they covered it just to let me know at no charge.
Oh,
So that's
good
a
deal.
good thing to look for too in a credit card.
Yep. Well, and if you're in the IBO program and you're watching that credit come and go, yeah. There are things with large organizations that do advertising that you probably aren't aware of, but you will be aware of in the IBO program if you're watching your account very seriously. Okay. There again, you got to call and go, what are you guys doing? They go, oh, we got to take care of, don't worry about it. Okay. Don't ask me how I know that.
Well, hopefully this HG program will help us all out to save some extra money on our credit cards.
Yep.
Anybody have any other questions before we end the call today?
That was great, Dawn. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Don, awesome.
I
As
could relate to
always.
a lot of that because my parents were married for like 30 years, and they had their own separate accounts and they had, one joint one that they could share between. But yeah, they never even co-signed for each other. And
Yep.
it's just good practice that way.
Yeah. It
Me and my
never
husband are the
co-sign for
same way.
anybody.
Oh, yeah.
Never
No.
co-sign. Because you will end up paying for
Yep.
it.
It's more important now than ever, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, then. Tonight's another SHG segment. Donna?
Probably education. Not
Mhm.
sure which way they're going with that yet tonight.
Mhm.
I hope it's education because my sister's a teacher and I told her to come out. Hopefully, it sounded last night like it was education because Roy had asked Sheila about the curriculum tonight. So
Yeah.
hopefully,
Well,
hopefully.
Make sure as a reminder, everybody, if you know a teacher, have them put their application in because this pays, from what I'm understanding, this is going to pay more than most teachers are making right now. And they have the freedom of not having an administration putting a lot of extra tasks on them during the day. And you'll have, a lot more freedom in this arena.
And no commute.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And no politics being shoved on the kids.
Exactly. Oops.
Okay, then. We're going to close this out and we're going to end the recording.